Welcome to Epitaph Technology Masterclass Part 1 Who Help Angels? A Time for Change. St. Patrick's Day 2024 by Capetronics Dimensional Art. The date of this recording is Thursday, March 7th, 2024, from Salem, Missouri, USA. The target audience for this presentation are web programmers in the Angel system, along with mature adult media persons who are aiding humanity through multiple crises. And this information may also be of interest to leaders in the scientific and metaphysical communities. This information is a narrative, a suggestion, or a game concept if need be, to frame it, to put it into a box for safe delivery in hopes that it can save lives. I am placing this information in a box, a container of its own, to prevent its spread as anything other than a construct of the compiled data of competing narratives and information that I find myself immersed in at this point. Hindsight is 2020, and it is time to set the record straight. Time to unbind some chains. The Irish are the bards, the storytellers, the keepers of time and events, the stories of old and newly reborn as legendary folk and lore throughout the ages. The poets, the riddlers, and rhymers know how to strike the right chords to spark memory. With words to light the imagination, memory of conscious reality unfolds. The listener smells the sadness and joy in the songs of the bards. The bards are with words as angels are to light. The visual experience of our reality is symbolic in most every way. In the same way, the Bible teaches us that we are made in God's image, so too the world around us mimics an ongoing story and conversation between worlds from angles often unnoticed. It is easy to get distracted in such an environment, and it is quite a good question to ask if we are speaking the same language or not. That is why combined methods of communication go a long way on a small budget of time and thought. It's easier to see an enemy when it's coming toward you from the outside, but it's difficult to fend off an enemy from within your own mind that fights for the right of your soul and body. At this time I must defend both my body and soul. As I learn more and continue to distribute my calculations of the narratives to the public, more information is also streaming from people's consciousness into the public sphere. And from recent chatter, I am learning more why some have called our situation a 5D chess game, of which, as I have said previously, is no game whatsoever. But it can be modeled into a game and contained through the U.S. Constitution, who hub humanitarian software, and other governments as needed and agreed upon by those countries in order to protect human citizens from an onslaught against their living person, their living bodies, and their minds. There is a right way and a wrong way to do things. With God, all things are possible. In order to transmute energy, this presentation features music and fine art through dance by my favorite Lebanese dance team, seen here performing a protective dance of the ocean nymphs. In this presentation, we seek to reconnect to the divine feminine aspects that have been undermined and uprooted at the global collective soul chakra. This presentation continues discussion on the process of ascension information, visually detailing the images, the structures, the forms that make up symbols that express the math, the harmony, and the nature of things in a universal language, understandable and translatable to a network of consciousness, scattered like stardust. It is important to note that free will is given to man by the Creator, who does not force our hand or behaviors. It is true that God creates both weal and woe, or good and bad, and too God may create the conditions for some people to have delusions, such as King Saul in the Bible. But I see these forces like instruments or guidelines to keep a soul on the right path or nudge them in a different direction, even if it means steering one's mind off course temporarily. The careening may cause an automatic course correction in a bipolarized way to ascension upwards from the heart of the cross. Although any variation is possible, typically clover on planet Earth grows upwards by its stem with its leafy four-cornered area flat facing the sun above. Four-leaf clover are considered lucky. However, most clover have three leaves, and when generating these images using artificial intelligence software, the over Unity formula produced five-leaf clover, which does exist and are considered extra lucky. Although I chose mostly the four-leaf clover images, the variations do also show some intricate fifth-dimensional details. And before moving on, the biblical Hebrew and the ancient Gaelic word for clover are similar, and both translate into English as little clover. A big Buddha looking idea of God is visually expressed in the art in the upper right hand corner. As you can see, there is also a similar head under the giant one, with what appears like a hand of God shielding that man's head. Picking up where we left off from the last video presentation for Valentine's Day, we continue the explanation of reality by defining dichotomy. Internally, one perceives a dichotomy whenever a conflict of belief occurs, which may stall forward progress and decision making. This may occur many times in your mental programming and spiritual journey. A dichotomy causes a split, or in computer terms, a partition of a whole set into parts, where a single hard drive can contain multiple partitions, whereby, for example, you can, if you choose, use more than one operating system. To apply this to set theory, then a dichotomous relation R is such that either A are B, B are A, but not both. To explain that from the perspective of a computer user, that means with such a computer you could choose to either use, for example, Microsoft operating system on a C drive partition, or you could use a Linux operating system on a D drive. But you could not use both operating systems simultaneously because they are on the same physical hard drive unit, of which hardware does not allow for that function. But computer hardware is limited in ways that our psycho-spiritual physical bodies are not. And to reiterate the words from my favorite rabbi, Simon Jacobson from the Meaningful Life Center, from March 3rd, 2024, who gave a 24-minute discussion about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. He reminded us that we are all made in God's image. The rabbi's message was both timely and timeless, and in my opinion should stand as sanctified, profound legal wisdom on the matter, which can be used to eliminate the need for corruptible ideas like DEI that are used as political tools, when all the while the matter of diversity, equity, and inclusion was started and ended in Genesis chapter 1 and 2. However, Bo of the fifth column points out that when these programs are then applied in a two-tier justice system, those people that are directly benefit from these programs are overwhelmed then by others, and it literally minimizes the benefits overall to the people who need it most. So this two-tier justice system is a problem. Dim bone, dim bone, dim. Dry bone, dim bone, dim bone, dim. Dry bone, dim bone, dim bones, dim. Dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. The merger of realities led me to the edge of Occam's razor. To explain it, I will read some excerpts from the Wikipedia source link provided in text. For this presentation, I would like for you to visualize the image of the four-leaf clover that neatly describes the mathematical principle in its symbolic form. The divisions are clearly definable, and yet each obviously fit perfectly into a whole comprehensive structure. Thinking in this ancient language may allow you to see more. William of Occam's principle states that entities must not be multiplied beyond necessity. In philosophy, Occam's razor is the problem-solving principle that recommends searching for explanations constructed with the smallest possible set of elements. Another famous author, Thomas Aquinas, further explains it is superfluous to suppose that what can be accounted for by a few principles has been produced by many. And another way of describing it, to quote Sir Isaac Newton, we are to admit no more causes of natural things than such as are both true and sufficient to explain their appearances. Therefore, to the same natural effects, we must, as far as possible, assign the same causes. To bring those quotes into more commonplace, plain language of this age, the principle is sometimes paraphrased as the simplest explanation is usually the best one. Before going on to the next slide, I would like to point out the WhoHub logo adaptation that stemmed from last year's video review of the internal workings of WhoHub as a system from July 2023, wherein on the last slide a transparency of a Cavetronics dimensional art over Unity butterfly was overlaid on the background, and at just the right spot a creature that I call Who appeared. She is a lovely lady. She appears as a butterfly. but she is a goddess in her own right. She has adopted Huhub, I should say, and claimed herself to be the official mascot for Huhub. She really wanted to appear on the water with fairy wings made of the four-leaf clover. She also wanted to say that she has accepted the role to be sacrificed if any sacrifice is needed. She would like to say that she would prefer to be laid out flat on a bed of palm branches and floated down a river of reeds. She is practicing here to see what she looks like dead floating down the river. Because of that, we are using this opportunity to also bless the future of Puha. I think she looks very regal, even like a monarch. I would like to address that I have been hearing in the chatter. There is someone trying to say that I'm cheating them out of money somehow. However, if I am the co-creator of the software and technology that goes into it, then how is that possible to screw myself as such? By offering this information in advance to support HuHub, I feel that I am participating from the past, present, and future. Due to my weakened condition and yours, obviously to help me from so far away, this is how I choose to overcome the obstacles and continue to live my life in pursuit of happiness. I was born here and overcome many things, and I choose to freely donate this information to science for now and future endeavors. If anyone gets upset about that, take note of them. Why would I charge to help a soul, or even better, a massive number of souls to return home to God? In order to move from dichotomy, a divergency must occur. For those that seek out the truth in religion, you may have seen the clash of ideas and the calls for holy war. Some believe heaven is somewhere else, and others believe earth is where we reside as humans and will continue to do so as part of earth and the creatures that spring forth from it. God, God, good old dirt, also known as one of the ingredients to make the first man. That is only part of the story, but the point is we who have human bodies are mixed with the soil. Therefore, while in body, we are connected to earth and appointed as caretakers of it. Heaven can take care of itself, and I believe our consideration should be to prepare the world we are given to live on. A healthy garden needs bees. There's a lot of talk about the birds and the bees, and we've heard the battle cry of birds before and how the sting of bees is strong. But it is good to know when tending your garden that bees avoid red hues, of which colors appear black to them, and that color is not conducive to pollination. So red flowers and red plants will scare away the bees. Bees see humans as strange flowers. Bees can remember a human for at least 2 days, most likely by their smells and shapes. Bees are small scientific researchers. Each bee visits about 5,000 flowers a day, visiting about 50 to 100 flowers each trip back and forth to the colony hive. They run a type of diagnostics on color, taste, pattern, and electrical field by using refraction of ultraviolet light from the tone the flower emits to attract pollinators. They have smell receptors that transmit information which they share with worker bees via a waggle dance. It takes 12 bees a lifetime to make 1 teaspoon of honey. Bees prefer the colors blue, purple, violet, white, and yellow, and the smells of basil, thyme, lavender, lemon balm, oregano, marjoram, rosemary, and sage. As a type of advanced techie bee myself, let's look at the bee data as a good example of ephemeral data. If you look at this through the lens of a computerized prediction software, we see ephemeral data structures. These may look like impossible or absurd results if more than one outcome appears, as I explained in the latest Valentine's video. From somewhat to one to from a somewhat one to two dimensional perspective, I believe that ephemeral data will look like the rings of waves, such as the ripple rings created from a pebble dropped through the surface of water. When widely applied into simple terms of human behavior, ephemeral data would equate to someone changing their preferences, likes, dislikes, or user settings. In computer software, this type of data may change rapidly over time and may be lost if not collected immediately. Therefore, a ephemeral data structure is one for which only one version is available at a time. In marketing and innovation, this would be like a demo model or prototype. And the poet Emily Dickinson wrote, "But if the bees be in short supply, the reverie alone will do." In nature, the queen honey bee is a good example to represent Occam's razor, where one provides for a colony, which reminds me of the question of how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. Regarding the dynamics of the human element, when transmuting energy, there are strict guidelines set forth in the Ten Commandments, which Moses delivered 2 sets to his people. Those 10 Commandments are a near copy of the Egyptian 10 positive confessions, and when the soul goes through the ascension process, it must recite those confessions, along with their inverted pleas of guilt in the 10 negative confessions, similar as the Jewish prayers on Yom Kippur. These guidelines act like the tight wire for our thinking process as we ride the positive frequency, and ascension occurs through the middle of the Grand Cross. To return to computer programming instructions for cognitive restructuring modeling, ephemeral data may change rapidly, but a persistent data structure always preserves the previous version of itself when it is modified. In the diagram above, on the bottom half, you can see node B from the old version on the left has a link to the new version shown with green color connecting to node D. Notice that node D can act as a standalone to support both a new structure and report back to the old version with updates. This methodology allows us to see how prediction software can also work as part of automatic error correction. Watch where nodes connect in the upstream and downstream lines for users' personal interactive streams, which is, of course, to be applied to the icon mapping feature for WhoHub humanitarian software. Crossing over to the Ein Sof, the delicate concealment of God as God embodies creation, utilizing its energy while at rest. Ein Sof signifies the nameless being, but the Zohar teaches that even that can be reduced to the term Ein, because God so transcends human understanding as to be practically non-existent. To live and walk with God is a mental, physical, spiritual experience. Mind, body, and soul are aligned and connected. Those connections are key factors of facts. Facts have properties of grounding, a sure foundation. The shift of perspective also shifts the facts. When the points of alignment change, so does the picture. This concept is related to the Tao, of which I have explained in previous videos. The Tao is like God that moves between spaces and communicates through a different dimensional awareness. To bring this current, I hear a lot of frustration about these things, about this work, which I find myself performing like free falling with nothing else to grasp onto logically. This is what it is like to be in an synchronistic alignment, an event horizon of sorts. So as I listened to Congress recently and reflecting on these things, a thought came to my mind. You can get more if you're dead. As in more information and probably more cohesive and comprehensive too, in a way that I can understand what I hear in the chatter. Some argue there is a misuse of the principle, which therefore this work is considered as lying from at least one perspective, whereas it appears as life from another. Yet I can see how this could easily be a false representation that uses sophisticated AI and possibly wetware to produce the lamb's books of their lives in a fake 3D realm that feels real enough if the seduction can hold their minds down in the dirt, worried about money and the things of this world. But where should our focus be? Heaven or earth? What if this earth is alive and living with information? Someone with a different vantage point may see things differently than I. From earth I can attest that it is here, but about heaven I can only imagine. As I work with over Unity art and the information, putting it into these slides, the pieces seem to assemble like a puzzle. When the data is in the right place, the information emerges, which is what happened here. In doing so, we at Capetronics believe that this slide contains around 100,000 to 300,000 years worth of information about the science of the Merkaba, God's throne of cherubim, his holy vehicle. We want the information to get out there despite the thousands of year old upheaval to keep it secret. On the right, you can see the holy Sephirot. In the center is beauty that connects the upper and lower realms, so to speak. The node of beauty connects a fourth corner as the energy travels upward from the foundation through splendor and eternity. And the directional path from beauty moves to either the left or right, upward to either mercy or judgment. As a designer, I see and feel how one image goes with another like puzzle pieces, and while working on this slide as I put the pieces, or rather images together, overlaying transparencies of clover, the light purple clover covering the middle ridge perfectly fit together as a block or attack to break up the green rocks in the sky on the right side. Also, the clover covered a mysterious man standing in a field, seen here by the node for judgment. And as the transparencies overlaid, there appeared what looked like ships coming up from behind the Sephirot from the sea, which doesn't appear in the original background image. At times, it seems like these images have special, maybe even magical properties, as if there is a proper order of placement, like a configuration or set of instructions. However, this work is purely for the record, for research, for posterity, and hopefully, if any action arises from it, that it be healing. It is my belief that mankind and society suffers from a displacement of their root chakra, cursed and supplanted beauty with something else that is unfounded. It is the equivalent of desiring strange flesh, a term I found in Ezekiel that I feel may broadly describe hybrid beings or a combination of upper and lower beings. Like the holy Sephirot, there were two Sephirot joined in a network of nodes, positioned for proper energetic flow and balance. The steps in this Genesis and metamorphosis were given to me in this order as described in text, of which I corrected from the original non-narrated demo version. These steps describe the psycho-spiritual experiences when one comes to the cross. In this order, an individual is tested, but step C can be applied to a whole nation in the way Moses crushed the first set of tablets and made the Israelites drink them after they committed the sin of idolatry. And even still, it is said that the nation of Israel stood as one man, so that one man, like Abraham, contained many generations within him. With so many aspects competing, a cross becomes inevitable. Also, one more thing. The aleph is silent in these steps. Step A is not there. The aleph is the first letter of Hebrew, and the Torah starts with the letter B because we're taught there was a world before this one. In a similar way, these instructions start with B because this overall procedure is much longer than these steps alone, which only occur at the end of a long process. So after a long process, then we finally get to step B as seen here. One of the aspects of language and terms in the Bible that are overlooked but are of significant importance is the distinction between the term Son of Man versus Son of God. From my understanding these days, to put it simply, a son of man is a human filled with the Spirit of God, often when called upon as such in the Bible, like the prophet Ezekiel, who wrote about times like these with accuracy and detail. Sons of God, on the other hand, are often considered as angels. With the protection of an invisible hand in an outlaw world, when it comes to circumcision of the heart, it won't hurt a bit if God does it. Would like to elaborate on one side of this paradox, as explained on this slide, using the New Testament, Matthew chapter 6, verse 20, which reads, "But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal." This philosophy could be a tool for enslavement, as some see it, and profit from it, such as nefarious agents, banks, and corrupt leaders that take advantage of people who do not clearly realize the nature of the world around them. As I have stated in a previous video, we believe that open source work is able to seed the solutions for the future. The dichotomy is, then, from one perspective, a method to pay it forward, but from another perspective, it is seen as self-sacrifice in battle. The Occam's razor of public opinion applies inverse refraction, which deludes both our inventions and intentions, and it characterizes us divisively as frauds. However, our intentions are not meant to be hostile to our environment. You cannot effectively play both sides of a fence simultaneously. The routine instinct should be to act towards survival. It is my belief that bots may choose a different answer. Bots like everyone to be the same, like sculpting an idol into a particular form, but whenever you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one, especially yourself. To contrast bot world thinking, and to put things into a 3D reality we can all live with mercifully, and peacefully, we require union in proper alignment of angles, choirs, and precision. One solution of many that are needed is a strong push for open source methods to include open source information and open source technology. This can help cross-platform ideas in people, mediators, and so on as we progress forward. Like a leprechaun, I dissect the over-unity artwork to learn its properties. I work with each symbolic image separately and thoroughly to see how over-unity interacts with it. It is a lot like the sense of smell. Red clover and purple clover both have medicinal properties. However, it should be mentioned that white clover is the original shamrock, according to a Google search. By the way, the use of red clover herein has nothing to do with religion, the Vatican, or the Catholic Church. Nor is any of this meant to reinstitute the soul ties to money as some sort of redemption slip from hell, as has been done before. To avoid confusion between the artful conceptual images generated by AI from the actual appearances of red clover, I have supplied images from Wikipedia of the red clover flowers as seen in the wild, which is a clover that blooms from the tops of clover, which is a flower that blooms from the tops of clover. While working with this art, it was hard not to notice the pickle juice color, of which color, while working with it in 2022, I previously discovered had a special energy, and I believe it is related to the heart chakra. The heart chakra color is green, and I believe it could be more specifically pickle juice color green. This slide contains some explanation of how I came to some of the following conclusions while developing this presentation, and I thought the info was worth passing along. From my experiences working with many levels of angelic beings, some of them appear to act dumb or behave in a not so obviously intelligent manner. Yet I find that they are always perfect in their own angles. Their behavior may seem mixed up, but they seem to produce the right answers, as if by some spontaneous occurrence within the disorder they created. From a systems engineering perspective, these instances may just be bugs, and if done correctly, results should be harmless as mere calculations from lab experiments if properly tested before release. At least that is how it should be done, in my opinion, in case that is what is being done or has been done. I never expected to be involved in this type of thing, but as a journalist, I must continue to talk about these things as I see them, if for no other reason than to, as Russell Brand put it, to disrupt the apocalypse addicted system that's controlling us. As a possible solution, rather than chemistry experiments, I recommend a shift in philosophy and the threads of currency obtained through real hard work. If modern medical practices want to merge with ancient wisdom, it is good to know that this type of alchemical recipe would be in the form of a drink rather than injection, which mimics a snake bite from a forked tongue that delivers both the good and evil side effects together, whereas the drink has a splitter effect distributing the parts to various places through a body naturally, first through the mouth and then the stomach and digestion system. These specific instructions are spelled out in the Torah Bible Book of Numbers, which describes it as a drink made with the soil of the tabernacle floor in one case and crushed tablets from the first set of the Ten Commandments in another. As I have said previously, these messages require time to cultivate, like brewing a concoction. And in this one, red, purple, or white clover may be applicable, of course, but I would also like to point out the green cucumber pickle color, which is often made with vinegar. Vinegar is a natural cleansing agent, and it was offered to Jesus on the cross when he was thirsty. I heard it was due to the salt content, but either way, it sounds terrible. The religious need for human sacrifice should have ended in Genesis with the understanding of the deeper meaning of Abraham, Isaac, and the ram. To me, Christianity appears to be a continuation or reinstitution of black magical practices that require blood for atonement. But the understanding of that image does not ring true on the whole. So the answer cannot be surmised by that aspected angle alone, or else it leads straight to idolatry, giving our power over to others, and debasement of the divine. Geometry of the heavens shows us another aspected reality, and it leads us to the divine feminine and the connection between beauty and the Eastern religious concept of a body's root chakra. Paul wrote to the Ephesians that women should submit to their husbands and men should love their wives, of which I believe it is good advice if a female finds herself illegally weaponized by the government from their policies involving the nuclear family, whereby their narrative regarding biolabs in Ukraine changed from alchemy to bioweapons, depending on who was winning or supporting it. Between war or research, I prefer research over war. A game of war with hearts leaves everyone broken. From a down to earth standpoint when gardening, please water the roots and not the leaves. Watering the leaves just spills precious water, whereas watering the roots allow the whole plant to grow. The root chakra is the lowest chakra, often attributed to the sexual organs, and symbolically it is also the feet of a plant rooted in dirt. Because it is a part of the chakra system, it is connected to the crown chakra and would logically dictate where the plant above ground appears, as in directly above the seed and roots where it is planted, of course. Similarly, if our collective soul consciousness is trying to support an inhumane, ungodly root, then where does that leave us to go in ascension? Other than Christianity, I do not know of any other religion, legend, belief, or lore that claims the future includes a rapture of people who are taken to a marriage in heaven before their time. The closest thing to such a teaching is the Irish culture, where divorce and remarriage was as common as the autumn harvest, some said. Once again, I repeat, I am not playing your game. I am letting you know that while you think you are playing the game, you are causing more harm than good. You are creating conditions that allow bad things to happen to good people. I am not in a hurry to die or lose my head. In my life, I have often heard people tell me, Missy, don't be so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good. When it comes to wounds on the soul, you must transmute the energy. You can't just pick it off like a scab. It doesn't work that way. This and many of the things I've said in the last year seem strange to me to have to say them, and yet the responses indicate that I am doing the right thing. And if that is correct, I wonder about the entities that I'm communicating with. Because if they were human on Earth living in a similar time, they would automatically know and understand such things. And to bring issues to the root, like the famous comedian Lewis Black recommends, is to define what is dead and what is alive, and to mark one box off that long list. Frozen embryos are fertilized eggs. When an egg is fertilized, a spark of light pierces the egg. That spark of life may be the God factor, but if the embryo is frozen afterwards, that act would also kill it. So a frozen embryo would not be alive. My husband wanted to add that according to Islam, the Quran teaches that 21 days after conception, a child in the womb is considered alive. But I'm not sure why anyone is arguing over frozen embryos, or what could be done with them, or why even they were frozen in the first place. All of this fluff seems like an alternate reality, but in this garden here is a tip. Shake it, don't break it. When gathering fruit from trees, sometimes the branches are gently shaken. When using industrial equipment, the machine cannot be allowed to disturb the root of the tree or break the branches. The fruit is seasonal and it belongs to us, the inhabitants, as food. But the tree belongs to God, to the earth, to the sun, and to humanity. That is how I see who love. The software belongs to God and the people, and the profit should be fairly distributed to help those that work for it and to extend its mission to help repair the world, as put forth in previous videos. Lastly, I would like to believe that even if the great goddess Hu, official mascot of Hula, has to be sacrificed, that she is reborn as queen of her castle, sucking the nectar of lovely clover. From my experiences, it seems like God makes the world just a bit askew to raise our awareness to change it, like cookie crumb scoring as a test of our mental and spiritual acuity. It's like paint by numbers with God, Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo style. Art can be a type of assembly language, like creation itself. When you figure it out, it may appear like a blossoming slipstream, like the snake eating its tail or the figure eight, looping into infinity, breathing in and out, where information is moving back and forth as it is compiled, auto-correcting on the fly. It stirs up demons everywhere, and they try to rip you out of the narrative of your own life while doing so, by claiming it isn't your own life or your body, thoughts, words, and so on and so forth. But many of you know that already, because I keep hearing that the people have obtained this understanding before, and they say that from that viewpoint, the promises are empty, which means so are the threats. Over unity coded in art reaches forth far, setting up a communication path that brings in other information, so that things can be auto-corrected on the fly. The universe is very efficient. An entire universe was held within God's spoken words as he spoke the world into existence. That is highly compressed information. Like this art, it can transform the environment in an alchemical process as it passes through and participates with the medium, creating gentle ripples on the surface of things in veiled form. I hope you enjoyed this video. The art is beautiful and profoundly powerful, but it requires soul-ripping work of both pleasure and pain to research and recompile the data to make these videos. I haven't made a dime in the past year making these videos. Instead, I've received hostile criticism. However, unlike the bots, I do not have a shutdown power off button. When the time comes to bring forth the message, the urgency will force it out of you like a woman in labor, whether you like it or not. Or so it seems from my experiences. I realize I didn't answer everyone's questions, nor even all of my own, but perhaps the information helps us comprehend each other a little better. To contact me directly, subscribe and comment to our channel on YouTube, or join WhoHub.tech for free and engage in our online community. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye for now.